we're trying to figure out a way to talk about the direction of today's topic, which is kind of disordered eating, issues with food, issues unhealthy, issues with exercise, and that becoming kind of a trigger for people that have disordered eating past. Issues of addiction, they seem to manifest in other ways if you don't deal with it. So that's kind of like the heavy topic that we wanted to just discuss today. And for me, I just noticed the other day, I was taking a rest day and I was on the bike just trying to do active recovery, and I was noticing how many calories I was working for. And in 40 minutes or so, I had biked 200 calories. And that just got me thinking of how in the past I would slave away for 1,000 calories a day. I would not rest until I burned. 1,000 calories a day was always my ideal. I deserved food after that.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of needless work of, sitting on an elliptical or a Stairmaster or just wearing a kind of like a Fitbit nowadays, a heart rate monitor, and just ticking away. Yeah, a lot of time to think. And that whole thought about I don't deserve food unless I accumulate this amount of calorie burn. And that has kind of been a thing of the past since I started doing CrossFit. The intensity is so high, I really don't even pay attention to counting calories. I just pay attention to how much work effort I go out, that gets output. Do you know what I mean? How tired I am, how hard I worked, how heavy I lifted, how much I was sweating or breathing heavy. Focusing on deserving food has kind of been a thing of the past. Although Jill and I have been noticing that sometimes when we get mentally defeated or there's external things and pressures and stresses, how that part of our old disordered eating or eating disorders, they manifest again a little bit. They kind of, you wake up one morning and you just decide, I'm fat today. That's absurd. It's an absurd thought. You can't even gain weight in the middle of the night and sleep, but you look in the mirror and you just decide, I'm not worthy of food. So where is that coming from? That's kind of what we wanted to talk about today, because we can't be the only ones struggling with this. This is just, it's rampant in the fitness community, and maybe in other ways of your life, you struggle with that same sort of disillusion about things. And that's kind of what we wanted to just talk about, and maybe make somebody else feel a little more comfortable that they're in good company, that we're all in this together. And maybe just by bringing some light to it and having some dialogue about it, maybe that'll help you guys process some of these thoughts together. So Jill, your thoughts?
Just to backtrack just a little bit, this came out of many, many conversations we've had, but also personal experience. We're not speaking on this because we're doctors or psychologists or anything, and we're not saying we have the answer or a solution to this. That was part of our discussion when we talked about what we wanted to talk about today, is that we'd love to be able to present a solution to this problem, but they're really, it's such a personal issue, but we also realize that this is more of a global societal problem. Is our self-worth is tied into our looks, is tied into our giving ourselves the permission to eat and look a certain way, and food becomes more of a charged issue. It becomes a reward or a punishment. So we punish ourselves for whatever by not eating, or we reward ourselves for whatever by eating, rather than seeing food as fuel, as medicine, paying attention to how that food makes us physically feel, and realizing that food is not going to fill whatever emotional hole we have. Whatever damage we have, food is never a good patch for that. It's temporary. It feels great while you're eating it, whatever it is that you're using that for. Or while, in my case, just to get personal here, while I'm starving myself, there is a temporary feeling of relief from whatever it is you're trying to escape. But it's always going to come back until you face whatever that is head on. And each of us has our own past, obviously. That brought us to this point. I think what's really cool about our community here, especially at Stellar, is that I think we all walk in with a certain need for healing. I think that's true of probably anybody who walks into the doors of a gym. Is that we're trying to heal something, and physical activity is a great way to do that, as well as sort of taking an honest look at what brought you here. Yes, we all have a past, and we can keep looking backward at that past, at who did this to us, at who damaged us, and so on. But at a certain point, we also have to look forward and take responsibility and own what that is we need to heal. And that's, I think, what we love about being here and what we love about coaching is that we're right there. I think that's part of what brought both of us to coaching, and what continues to drive us is that we are also healing, and we understand those moments when you have that breakdown during a really hard WOD, or when you have a day when you just feel like you can't do it. We're right there with you on this healing journey, because we have a past too, and we get it, and we love seeing people come through this, break through this wall of I can't, and I'm not enough, and I'm not worthy, and all this I'm not, all this I can't, into I can, and I am, and I'm worthy of this space that I take up on this earth, because that's really where we all want to get to, is this feeling of I'm worth whatever it is.
Well, I think the fun, beautiful part is that we've all been through this. Mm-hmm. So sometimes Jill will see that I'm having a tough day, I'm having a tough time in the workout, and she can read that and sense that, and then she drives me even harder to get out of my head, out of the external stuff, the external issues.
She loves it when I do that.
It's so much fun. And sometimes it even pushes you to that uncomfortable place of crying even. It's just so powerful when you're pressing through that pain of whatever's going on outside of the gym. You bring it in here through a workout, through that intensity of pain. It helps kind of, you're pushing through your boundaries of discomfort as well as, physicality, physical pain. And then it's just refreshing to know that somebody else understands that same thing. So I don't know. It's just I don't know how to explain it. It's just I've been through it, and I just think that that's such a beautiful thing. And I've watched so many other athletes go through that, discomfort, and then once you press through, it's just it's kind of like a rebirth every day of a cleansing of that mindset. And I just kind of think that's really cool, is once you get through that, you've become stronger. You see that you are capable. I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. I just know that it helps me, and it gives me a lot of mental clarity, and I don't feel so much like I'm punishing myself with food. I feel like I'm strong, or exercise. That it's for a bigger purpose. I think that's where I'm coming from. It's more about my internal change, my heart change, my spirit change, as opposed to just a physicality of using food to punish me for some external emotional issues that I have going on. I can revert that back into strength, and for me, I find that strength through my faith, and a lot of the time, I just have to get out of that kind of self-centered component of me and my issues and whatever is going on with me, and what I try to do is serve somebody else and kind of take that focus off of a self-centered, self-defeating, self-loathe, and maybe call Jill or text one of our athletes and check on them, and maybe just redirect that into serving somebody else and seeing, hey, what are you guys going through? Maybe I can channel that, as opposed to being so internally driven and internally focused. That's kind of how I self-medicate, if you will, to help, maybe help somebody else. It helps take me out of the me state of mind and work on how can I serve somebody else.
So important. I think it's the best way to lift yourself out of something that's holding you down is to reach out to somebody else, try to help somebody else. I think we have turned into, through social media and through this sort of, me society, we focus so much on ourselves and our problems, and we forget how many other people are dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
And if we can stop the navel gazing just for a few minutes and
What's navel gazing?
the navel is your belly button. It's an expression that means like when you're always looking inside at yourself and focusing on your own problems, you can't possibly gain perspective. You can't possibly get help if you're always navel gazing. I know, it's my
I'm totally
favorite.
going to use that in a sentence today.
Use that in a sentence today. So what are next steps? How do you deal with this sort of issue to help yourself heal? And yes, it's work. It's not just one little thing like magic trick that I'm going to give you. It's the same thing, the same thing that we do in here. It's a daily practice. It's a daily practice that you have to show up for. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it by any means. Yeah. The many days I fall right back down into that rabbit hole of using food or lack of food to numb whatever I'm feeling that day. But it's a daily practice of being in here and realizing when you have that thought pattern going on and jumping out of the rut. I visualize it as if you've ever done cross-country skiing on one of those machine-made tracks, and that's the only track you can go on. I visualize myself jumping out of those tracks and making my own new tracks into a new way of thinking. And yes, it's really hard. It takes a lot of effort, the same way as skiing in powder does. Not that I've done that many times, but so yes, yes, we all know I'm not super big on the snow sports. But I do realize that skiing in powder is much harder than skiing on a nice groomed slope.
Yeah.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
So yes, it takes more effort. It takes more energy. It definitely takes faith. And it takes skill, just like anything else. You will develop a skill to realize, oh, I'm in this pattern of doing things. I need to change this and jump the track. And I think that you can do that any number of ways. If you are somebody who believes in God, that you might pray, you might meditate, it's sort of the same answer we keep giving for everything. It's self-care and recovery. Yeah. And we're all working on it. We're all in, whether or not we admit it or not, we're all in some stage of healing. And it's just really cool that we're all here together. Just to bring it back full circle, this is the reason that we have these little talks every week, because we really, truly love watching people and helping people along as they heal and also as they become stronger. And that's what we do here. It's not just about the barbell, and we keep saying that. We have the privilege and the honor of watching rebirth every day, rising from the ashes of what we walked in as, and watching people walk out having shed some of that skin, some of that weight, some of that sadness, some of that anger.
Well, I just think it's an honor that you guys trust us with that.
Yes,
and
for sure.
You have somebody, hopefully, that you can confide in, whether it's us or whether it's a friend. I think it's really important to have that accountability, to have those honest conversations with somebody that you trust, that kind of helps you get out of those lies in your head that you tell yourself, and helps redirect you. And a trusted friend, I think, helps get you back on that path. I think that's for me what I find the most helpful. So I know we don't really have a resolution to this stuff, obviously, besides some good, soul searching and doing the hard work of changing your perspective, changing your behavior, and good friends. And for me, it's super faith. Super faith. Anyway. Super faith. Anyway, so that's just what we wanted to shed some light on today, and hopefully bring some awareness to, get you guys talking about an honest
Louis'
conversation.
2 cents about his
Louis.
Body issues. He's feeling very fluffy today.
Yeah.
So
Poor guy.
Poor guy. Yes.
I guess on that note, we'll see you next week.
See you next